it's a common time to go live anyway. So
Right, right. And we're live. So, what's up, everyone? We have an insane and incredible guest lineup for you all here today. I'm thrilled to welcome Wendell, Jules, the founder of WJJ Brands and creator of an upcoming next level summit by the name of Hustle to Growth Summit. We're also joined with Ben Bauer, the founder of Emergent Mind and a mindset and life coach extraordinaire. He's also the guest speaker at Wendell's first event for the summit. We're in for an absolute treat as Wendell breaks down his insane and completely free Hustle to Growth Summit, a series of 7 powerhouse, laser focused events focused on cultivating a growth mindset, sharpening marketing strategies, supercharging your social media game, a sorry, building a marketing machine that connects and converts, converting high quality leads, establishing scalable systems to grow and support your business and team. But that's not all. Ben Bauer, a true master in the realm of mindset and personal development, will be joining us to dive deep into the psychological and neurological aspects of what it takes to rewire the brain to unlock your full potential and achieve monumental growth. A quick intro and word from our sponsors. Finance for individuals and businesses all began with a vision, a community where like minded individuals could gather on social media to share their passions, experience, and knowledge for a brighter future. Our mission is simple to foster growth and development and keep pushing everyone forward. We believe everyone has the potential to succeed, and we're here to support that journey. Join our community of leaders and visionaries as we learn, grow, and build a brighter future together. For those on YouTube, and other platforms. This is originally a Facebook group, and we're going to be keeping it here. Join our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/finance for individuals and businesses. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/finance for individuals and businesses. We'll see you there. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights, an individual seeking personal growth and transformation, simply who someone who wants to simply unlock their full potential. This episode is an absolute must listen. Wendell's wealth of knowledge on growth strategies and Ben's expertise on mindset mastery are gold, and I have no doubt that you'll walk away with a wealth of actionable insights and strategies to implement in your own endeavors. All right, let's bring Wendell and Ben on. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. We're thrilled to have you both here. How you guys doing?
hey man, blessed to see another day. Just taking it
For
one day
sure.
at a time.
Thank
How
you
For
for
about
sure.
you?
thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we get started on everything, Wendell, tell us a little bit about your journey. What inspired you to create this growth summit?
Yeah, so I guess the reason why I created the Hustle to Grow Summit was because over the past couple of years, I've been consulting and coaching numerous business owners on various ways to basically start, grow, and scale their business, and essentially really be a resource to them and teach them things that honestly a lot of entrepreneurs don't really know about and they fail to know about, because either it's not their specialty, it's not their forte in that own way, in that specific way. So with the Hustle to Grow Summit, what came to mind was that I wanted to do something to be able to give back to the community, especially those who are business owners or even those who are thinking about starting a business, and create a platform where they can come and learn for free, essentially, because all the virtual summits that we're doing are going to be free except for the in-person one. Um, and give them the tools, the knowledge, and give them the opportunity to be able to network with others and to continue to build on the skill sets that they need to build a thriving and sustainable business. So really, that was really my whole reason behind it, and then also to connect like-minded individuals that have really talented skill sets that can benefit many people. So anywhere from business bankers to CPAs, attorneys, business attorneys, and just being able to build a community of people that really can pour into every single person that's going to be essentially getting involved or attending any of these virtual summits or in-person summits. So that's really it for us.
Yeah, man. We talked quite a bit before we met at the Believers in Business event. You won my my little sponsored thing, I believe. But we started talking about this whenever we first met, and I just think it's such a great program that you're creating. I mean, the 6 free summit events is pretty crazy, especially the value and people that you're bringing to it. I mean, people are gonna get to listen to Ben. Obviously, they're listening to you, but they'll get to kind of get a sneak peek of what it's going to be like. Especially because every event of the summit is very different. It focuses on different things, but the end goal in all of them is growth or improvement in some form or fashion. Whether it's personal, it's for business. It's the core of what is needed to really jumpstart a business, and it's pretty exciting, man. I really like it. So your first event is called Unlocking Your Inner Entrepreneur. You want to go into the details on that one?
Yeah, definitely. So the reason why we started with this particular event first, is because the most impactful thing around starting and growing and scaling a business is the mindset that you have going into it, right? And there are things that are being taught, through social media, when people see things and they just feel like, hey, I'm going into business to, basically become rich, right? And to, essentially either build generational wealth, or I'm going into business because I have a full-time job and I want to write off everything so I don't pay any taxes, right? So then you get all of these different mindsets, right, of people who are literally coming up with these different things in their minds, and and really part of what I wanted to do is address some of those concerns, address some of those beliefs, essentially, that some people are having when they decide to start a business and to go into business for themselves. um, and I want to make sure that we're very intentional with how we're positioning and giving people information around this, because there there is a stigma around um, what it means to have a business, right, or to run a business. And I think a lot of times with a lot of the people that I coach on a day-to-day basis, especially the business owners, I do find that sometimes the mindset that they do have ends up limiting the opportunities that they receive, how far they can go in their business. It limits them from being able to really build and grow a team, because either they don't have the right mindset around management, or just even being able to identify where else can they take their business. So this first virtual summit really is designed to have Ben, who's on this call as well. He's our mindset coach and life coach, and he's gonna talk a lot more around the science and the psychological aspect of mindset. So then he can help you guys, or anyone who is in this space, unravel some of the things that really they don't even realize that they're doing in their business. And one thing that we talked about was that a lot of times people don't realize the way that they're running their business is a direct result of how they actually are living their life, right? And sometimes we don't realize that the decisions that we make when it comes to finance, in our personal life, and how we handle finance, also has a direct impact to how we run our business, right? And there's plenty of other things, but I know we can get into it all day and talk about it. But that's really kind of the whole purpose of why we're leading with growth, the growth mindset first, and then also really to address, do you have a hustle mindset or a growth mindset, and then really being able to distinguish the two, because by understanding, if you're in the hustle mindset, what impact is that making or doing in your business versus actually having a growth mindset? How does that impact your business is going to be really important. And we want to make sure that people grasp that concept before we can get into anything else that could really actually help benefit them in the long run.
For sure. For sure. That's a pretty big difference in hustle and growth. Yeah, that's definitely a lot there. And then whenever you're going into detail on how they actually carry themselves, not just in their business, but in their day-to-day lives, there's that quote, "How you do anything is how you do everything." And that's something I've kind of always thought about, and it's pretty interesting to see. So like, even if you're just at the office and you walk by a piece of trash that's on the ground, do you also do that at home? Like it's very comparable. But no, that's awesome. So the first event's going to be crazy, and I know we're going to go into more detail soon, because I want to share Ben's brain. Uh, we just I know not everyone has seen the three of us, but we had a pretty long discussion yesterday, and that's why I'm super excited for this podcast episode. Now we just went over the first event, the second event. So each of these events is really creating a business owner. It's creating someone who's going to be successful, because the first event's about mindset. The second event is about marketing strategies and understanding your customer persona. The third one is about supercharging your social media strategies and using artificial intelligence to scale even faster. Then you have the art of marketing and creating irresistible offers to convert high quality leads. On
Yeah.
top of that, you're also nurturing leads, building a marketing machine on the next event, and
Yeah.
then the last event before the grand finale is the foundations of business growth to build your scalable systems to build and support your team.
Yep.
Pretty crazy. So
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
so
It's a wonderful roadmap.
yeah, it's a full circle. It's an all-encompassing event for business owners. I think it's going to be a great summit. So these events are all the first 6 events are free. Those are the 6 events. They're free and they're virtual, and they start at noon on the schedule. It's
Central
May
Time.
20th. Yeah, and we're going to share the schedule with everyone, but it's May, June, July, August, September, October. It's pretty much once a month. To
So the
and
third
I think
Wednesday, the third Wednesday of every month leading to November.
Okay, gotcha. And then I think I think it's such a great idea to even space it out, not just have back-to-back days where it's like a hardcore summit, you're just kind of jamming it down their throat. Whenever
Mhm.
you're spacing it out like this, they have plenty of time to go and work on these uh, uh, the practices and workshops from the previous events. So
Yep.
it's because it's a lot of information. It's a
May,
it's a lot of information for sure.
may I add something to that real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
Okay. So the neuroscience, whenever you learn something new, the neuroscience shows that the area of your brain where you learn that new information, you double the neural connections from about 1,300 to 2,600, right? And if you don't repeat that information regularly after you learn it, those new neural connections will start to prune away in hours and days, right? So this is what's called Hebbian learning. When I learn something, new neural connections, but if I don't repeat it, then what happens is I forget it. And so this is why people go to weekend seminars and they get all this stuff jammed in and they learn all this new stuff and they're all pumped up. But then Monday rolls around, nothing happens, right? Because the neural connections start to go away. So it's very important, whatever you learn at these summits, record it and just keep repeating it in your mind. And that's how you build those connections. And that's how you get it in your neurology. So it's important. I think it was a good point where you're spacing them out so people have that time to really absorb it and then do the work. So they're going to the next one to get the maximum benefit from each event.
Exactly. No, that's so true. And that was my intention too, right? Because I've been in rooms. How many of you guys have probably been in a room where it's like you're sitting in an 8-hour place and it's just, information after information. And it's just like, okay, what am I going to take away from this? And typically it's only going to be one thing probably that you might have been able to just grasp and be like, okay, you know what? That was really important. I remember that. But after leaving that space, if you never actually do anything with it, then essentially it's dead, right? And that's in its own way.
Yeah, it's
And my gift,
philosophy.
exactly. So growing up, I'll share a personal story. So growing up, my mother, she used to always tell me, like, knowledge is power, right? And for me, I was like, yes, that's so true. So I used to grow up naturally just like soaking up knowledge, right? Because I'm like a sponge. I got, like I always tell people, I'm a student at all times, right? I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be the person that is learning from everybody else and giving people information and pouring into them too, right? But then as I grew up, I was just like, you know what? I can get all this knowledge, but if I'm not applying it, then what is it really doing for me, right? So then now I took her quote and that she used to tell me all the time, and I just added the applied knowledge is power, because at the end of the day, if you're not applying it, there's no power behind it, right? Because without all of that action that essentially leads to you actually making life changing um, moments and decisions, then what does it have to show for, right? And that's really ultimately why I really want to space things out, because I want people to be able to take away these tools, and we're going to give you like literally every single virtual summit that somebody walks away from and attend, they're going to walk away with some type of asset or tool that they can actually use within their business or even their personal life to be able to actually make monumental changes from that point on.
For sure. There's what's his name? Anthony. I can't remember his name, but he's a motivational speaker. But he talks about massive action.
Oh, Tony Robbins.
Yeah, Tony Robbins. Yeah, he talks about massive action, and that's exactly what a lot of this is. And it's really gearing yourself up and preparing yourself for that next level, because it's it's completely different whenever you're studying it and whenever you're experiencing it. I know most people in my own network don't know my complete history, but I got my experience before my schooling, and that's the opposite of what usually happens. And going through that and understanding it, I believe school should have definitely come first. I don't think I would have been able to grasp everything with the experience, but having that foundation is just super important. And I'm not saying like school's needed for everyone or anything like that, but for me, for how I learn and what I wanted to learn and what I want to do in the future, that's I just think going to school first would have been better. Um, so creating a school for people, it's and creating that foundation to help them get to wherever they want to go in life, whether it's just a mindset thing or whether they just want to learn about marketing strategies, social media, AI, more marketing strategies, converting that high quality leads, cultivating connections, and creating that foundation of business. They could honestly just pick any one of these, and I know it's going to be a game changer. They're also 90 minutes each, so it's not like it takes up an entire day.
Exactly.
And it's during lunch. It's
Yep.
during lunch. Eat,
Lunch and
eat it.
learn. Lunch and learn.
That's right. Lunch and learn. Bring your
Yeah,
own bag though. Bring your own bag of lunch.
right, right. So, and I know we're gonna hit on the first event in a second. Is there an event that you, Wendell, are particularly excited about out of your 6 events? I don't. I know you're gonna say all of them.
Which kid do you like best?
I know you're gonna say all of them. Which one are you more excited about, though?
I'm
Probably.
honestly, well, you took the answer out of my mouth. Yeah, it is gonna be all of them, but I would say
Yeah.
the first one 100%. The reason
Yeah.
why the first one for me is because it sets the tone to everything else, right? And it also speaks to people in various ways, right? Even though we're gearing a lot of this for business owners, but the skill sets of which you're actually going to learn just from the mindset aspect, right? Because if you're not running a business, then what does crafting an offer have to do for you, right? If you're not, what is social media's strategy like obviously social media, yes, there's personalized and business social media profiles, but all the other summits are really like high level summit information that's going to help benefit a business owner. But this one, as far as the mindset one goes, like it, regardless whether you have a business or not, like just the information that we're going to provide, and and me and Ben and I, we were going through like just the presentation and some of the stuff that we're going to talk about already, and it's just mind blowing. Like me and Ben, we can talk about this stuff all day. Like literally, if I didn't have a business to run, I would probably be having a conversation with Ben. Like about
we were joking. We just live stream our conversations and let people log in because it's so much fun talking about this stuff.
Exactly. So literally, like for me, I would say the mindset one's probably going to be my favorite to kick off, because it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to learn something from this, and it's actually going to help you understand really who you are as a person, right? So definitely
why you're making the decisions you're making, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's it. Like what's driving you, and I think there's a misinterpretation of what's driving us to make our decisions. We're highly programmable. We just don't realize that we're allowing ourselves to be programmed by default, and that's usually from survival, right? Mm-hmm. From fear, anxiety, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, whatever that is, right? And the data says that children are reprimanded 8 times more than they're praised, right?
Say that again.
Children are reprimanded 8 times more than they're praised. And I don't think parents are trying to do a bad job. I just think they're trying to keep their kids safe or alive. Put that down. Don't touch that. You're doing that wrong, right? And a kid doesn't have the analytical facilities to realize that the parent is just trying to keep them alive. And the kid, between the ages of 1 and 7, their brains operate in what are called theta and delta brainwave patterns. And there's no analytical facilities there. And they just take that in and go, oh my goodness, I must be screwing up. I must not be good enough. That's the interpretation. And so we all, like in my experience, there's this kind of universal experience of I'm not enough, right? Whatever that is, right? And there's branches off of that, but it's I'm not enough. And that drives a lot of what we do, right? I'll give you an example. I'll use myself as an example. I'm adopted. My parents are divorced. And the decision I made, it was a decision unconscious as a kid, was, oh, I must not be worth keeping around. I must not be good enough. And so my coping strategy for that limiting belief was, I'm going to give and please and fix everybody's situation to try and show I'm worth keeping around, right? But that's just a coping strategy for the underlying belief of I'm not good enough. Now, I don't think that's a terrible trait to have, but it's not fundamentally who I am. And what emotion am I doing that from? And if I'm trying to prove I'm worth keeping around, what do I actually think about myself? That I'm not. And if I don't really think I'm worth keeping around, or that I am good enough, good things can't stay in my life. There will be a self-sabotage that goes on. And those are the blind spots. And that drives a lot of our behavior. And so to me, it's starting to become aware of that and where that programming comes from. And then realizing that that's fundamentally a lie. It's not even true. Am I not worth keeping around? Like that's it's laughable now when you think about it, right? But we all have some sort of version of that. Everybody does. There's a universal that happens to everybody. And those are blind spots, and they're driving our decisions. And then if we go into something and we're going to go out, I'm going to do this work, and I got the book. If I do these 10 things, I'm going to be wealthy and successful, right? And I follow the book and I do these 10 things and it says I'm going to be wealthy and successful. But if I don't believe I'm worthy enough or good enough to do it, what emotion am I going into those? I'm going into very low level emotions. And the analogy I like to give it, it's sort of like vacuuming my house without the vacuum plugged in, right? Like I'm moving the vacuum over the floor and I can see the lines from the wheels, but nothing's being sucked up, right? And then that builds frustration. Oh, see, I'm not good enough. Right. And that's actually what's called a psychocybernetic loop. And we'll talk about that. It's a loop that is actually a reprogramming of your neurology. It's just a reinforcement system, right, of your beliefs. And so your beliefs are the linchpin of all of this, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't deal with your beliefs, if you don't really get to those and change those beliefs, at best, you're going to become the very limited at best, you're going to become the best version of your very limited self.
Mhm.
Man, that's I'm gonna let people marinate in that one. Yeah, that's a lot of information and understanding kind of where everything is coming from. Because I just have the kind of project management background, business background, it's the root cause analysis, trying to figure out why you think the way you do. And that's I kind of shared a little bit with you guys about my personal experience with stuff like that, and I didn't have the worst life, but I didn't have the best life, and everybody goes through things at different times. But going through and understanding and being self-aware, it's really game changing and eye opening. Just to it takes away the emotion, but not necessarily in a bad way. But it takes away the peaks and the lows, so you kind of understand. So you're kind of in that middle level. You're a little more level-headed whenever you kind of had that broad understanding of why things are happening. Um, but no, that's definitely it's going to be a great summit. I'll be joining for sure. I'll be joining for sure. Um, let's see, what else are you guys going to be going into on the first event?
So one thing that I'm gonna talk about is I have this analogy that I use, which is all around, and I guess I'll share with you guys, which is pretty cool, right? So um, an example I'll use is that let's say I walk into a room, right? And this would tell me a lot about either somebody's mindset or how they perceive something, right? Which for me, it's going to be more along the lines of short-term gain versus actual value, right? So if I walk into a room, right, and I bring a book bag and I have this bag and I approach two different people, and I'll give you the scenario A and I'll give you the scenario B. So the first person I approach, I'm like, hey, I just got this book bag, but I'm looking to sell it, and then, they're like, okay, how much does it cost? I'm like, it's $1,000 for this book bag, right? The first person would probably look at it like, I'm not trying to spend $1,000 on that book bag. Nah, I'm good. All right. Then I go to the next person who's scenario B, and I go to them like, hey, just got this book bag, looking to sell it. How much you looking to sell it for? Well, I'm looking to sell it for $1,000. Now this person goes beyond and they ask follow-up questions, and they're like, hey, well, okay, well, you're selling for $1,000. What's in the book bag? Right? Now I go into, well, I got probably about 10 different clients that are yours. I got, an iPad, a laptop, new MacBook in there. I got a check for, $200,000 from a client that just paid me. And then I got some other things in there. Now, that person who took the opportunity to actually understand what the perceived value of this book bag was more inclined to actually buy this book bag because they actually know what's in it versus the person who just looked at it and was just like, no, I'm good. It don't fit my standards. I don't want it. Meanwhile, they just looked at it from the outside and had no idea what the perceived value was of this bag, right? So that in itself, right, if we're looking at those two scenarios or individuals, really what we're trying to address is that first person is that person who probably has a hustle mindset, meaning that they're all about whatever that short-term gain is. And if you don't tell them exactly what it is, then they're not going to perceive any value. And cost is just basically the main thing that they're looking for. Does it make sense for me financially, right? Versus the second person, if they only had $500 in their pocket, but they knew the anticipated value of what they're getting in that bag, the likelihood of knowing that, well, there's probably about over $500,000 worth of goodies in this bag. I'm actually going to go figure out how to get another $500 to actually pay for this so that I can level up in my life, right? So that in itself is really where we're trying to, I guess, help people understand, right? Value and not looking at things just from a cost perspective, because trust me, I have so many prospects that I do talk to, right? And they're not clients of ours, but they're always opening up free information. But at the end of the day, free information is free information. But if you're not actually investing at some point, right, then you're missing out on those opportunities to actually level up yourself, right? And that's really what we're going to be talking about, partly what we're going to cover during this as well.
May I add a little piece into that?
Of course.
So I would classify the hustle mindset, and I'm not saying going out and doing activities and meeting people and networking and working. You know, people could call that hustle. I'm not saying that there's not benefit in that and you don't need to do that. But what I'm saying is if you're in a hustle mindset and you're going from prospect to prospect as quickly as possible, that's what I call a primal state. I'm in fear. I have to get this done now. I need revenue. I need money. That's fear-based, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the flip side of that, which is a powerful mind state or a powerful state of being. I'm going into this cultivating relationships, being curious. Being curious is a powerful state. Being in abundance, being in joy and bliss and flow, that's all abundance. Like that's a powerful state, right? Whereas the opposite of that, being in a primal state, is fear, anxiety, right? Now, I'm going to give you a really interesting fact on this. When you're in what's called high beta brainwave patterns, which is survival, fight or flight, like I'm stressed out, I'm worried about things. The neuroscience shows that the parts of our brain for logic, reasoning, and creativity actually start to shut down. So when you're in high beta brainwave patterns and you're in survival, the parts of your brain that you need most to solve a problem actually start to shut down. So you're not even open to the solutions. And so it's really important to understand that your equipment's not working right to solve your problems. And you have to slow down, take some deep breaths, right? And open yourself up to all the possible opportunities that are out there, because there's a ton of them. And only because you're in this primal, fear-based, high beta brainwave mindset, your brain can't see those opportunities because you're blocking them out. Your brain's not working properly. So there's a lot of this is based in neurology, right? It's not like this isn't woo-woo. There's a lot of science behind it. So for me, it's shifting from that primal to that powerful state. And when you're going into a room, you want to be in a powerful state of being, because you're also broadcasting information. Most people don't realize that. There's actually an energy field that's been measured around our bodies up to 10 feet. And you're actually broadcasting information, and people can sense you. And I'll give you an example of this. You walk into a room where two people maybe had been arguing, but they're not currently arguing. You can walk in that room and go, oh man, I don't like the energy in this room. It's terrible. You can feel it, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But you can also go into a room where people are having a good time and, oh man, people say it all the time, I love the energy of this room. Well, that's nonverbal communication. And when you're in a primal state or a hustle state, people will sense that. They may not be able to assign words to it, but energetically and intuitively, they will sense it. As opposed to if you're in a powerful state and you're walking in and you're looking to be curious and provide value and develop relationships, people will sense that. When you're present with them and you're listening to them, they will sense that. And they'll be way more open to interacting with you, as opposed to you walking in a primal state, trying to get things from people.
Mm. It's so true. And I've seen it so many times too, right? Because I've been to different networking events, and it's so funny because I go in there and to be honest with you, my mindset normally when I go into a networking event isn't to be the person that's selling you on anything. I just want to add value, right? And build trust, right? That's more important to me than getting a sale right then and there, right? Because the likelihood is that if I'm going into it, let's say with the hustle mindset of, oh, I need to close on this sale like today, right? Then the likelihood of the type of person I attract in that business is probably not going to be the most ideal or the best client for me, right?
Right.
How many times, and Ryan, you're in business too. So imagine how many times you probably may have seen this firsthand, where it's like, well, I need to get I need to secure this client, or I need to secure something, right? But then that client that now is like, hey, well, I want a discount. I want this, well, if you're not giving this to me, I'm going to find somebody else that'll do it cheaper. Then you're dealing with the people who are already, you're attracting literally the people you don't want, right?
Like for
You're
like.
like for like, literally.
Like for like.
You're attracting those people who are also in the same hustle mindset as you rather than a growth mindset, right? And a lot of times as business owners, sometimes you start hiring people with the same mindset, right? And they only care about getting paid. If you don't pay them, nope, sorry, I'm going on to the next person, the next company, right? But then if you hire somebody or you partner with somebody that essentially has that growth mindset and you're on the same wavelength as each other, you'll do so much more and it'll be a lot more impactful, right? So a lot of times these are the things that we're seeing in the marketplace and that a lot of business owners are facing because some of them are feeling like they have to discount their products. And then the moment that they do that, that ends up being the client that gives them a 1-star review. And then it's like, now they're like, pissed off because they're like, well, I gave them a discount and blah, 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 this. And then,
you could also drive that back to their beliefs about their self-worth.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so if I'm discounting things, what's my perceived value?
Yep.
Right. So you're discounting yourself. And that's usually driven by a belief about yourself. And no judgment. I mean, like I said, man, it's a journey. This is a growth experience. Like, to me, it's shedding these limiting beliefs and dissolving them and realize they're just a narrative that people keep repeating in their heads. But if I'm discounting my services, right, I'm actually discounting myself.
Yeah.
Right. And nothing wrong with Target, but do you want to be the target of your business or the Nordstrom of your business?
The what? Nordstrom?
The target of your business or the Nordstrom of your business?
Yeah.
And that's driven by the beliefs about yourself and your product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's whenever I first got into my current industry, it was actually my first experience with business to consumer sales. Everything I did before was business to business. So it was very eye-opening, figured out who supported me, who is there for me. And then you also figure out who's going to support you in the future. You find out that your clients become your friends faster than your friends become your clients. And that was super uncomfortable for me, but it's all part of the growth. During that time, whenever I first started, the reason why I brought that up, I used to do networking a whole bunch, and I believed in quantity over quality. So whenever I was going around networking, I was collecting business cards. I wasn't collecting stories, knowledge, and all the good stuff that you actually need. I was just shaking a lot of hands. There's a older guy who recognized kind of what I was doing, but I guess he thought that I was a good person or something because he gave me some pretty good advice. He told me the next couple networking events I go to, don't get everyone's business card, just talk to everyone and get 2 or 3 business cards from people that you have good chemistry with. Those are the people that are going to continue to help you grow, because after every event, it's not like you can go and instantly add 100 people to your Rolodex, to your base of knowledge, because you can't keep in constant communication with 100 new people every single week or every single day. It's not necessarily sustainable. So it was an interesting take, and it really opened up my eyes to creating more partnerships. And luckily, I learned that pretty early on, whenever I first started doing business to consumer sales. But it's definitely a roller coaster, and a lot of business owners who first start their business will go through this. I just went through it a little bit later in life. I just did business to business previously, and 10 years later, after doing that stuff, I just got into business to consumer. It's a completely different animal. It really, really is, because, and I'm not saying that normal consumers have a lower IQ, but when you're speaking to business owners, normally there's a higher IQ level and a different perspective on the worldview. Whenever they understand, all the moving parts instead of just what they see on headlines and stuff like that, they actually know how things work behind the scenes. The conversation's very different.
Yeah.
Conversation's very different.
It's less emotion driven.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
For sure.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot to unpack whenever you first start taking those first couple steps. And luckily for, me, I started creating a network of people, started talking to more people because I didn't really have a network for business to consumer or anything like that. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Um, and not many people would talk to me about it either. So I had to go and seek different partnerships, different friends. And it's been not necessarily a slow transition, but over the scheme of things, in a timeline, it's a slow increase, but every single day I'm working on it, it feels like it's more like a compounding with exponential growth.
It becomes like a quickening. Like
Yep.
it's slow at first, and then you start to become more self-aware, and you understand how the quote unquote game is played, right?
Right.
And it's not mean I don't use the term game in a negative way. You're just understanding, you're figuring it out. You're figuring out where the value is. How do I add the value? How do I develop the relationships? Instead of kind of like fumbling around, right? You become more intentional and understand what you're supposed to be doing to develop those relationships and become more self-aware. And as you do that, you're actually changing your neural pathways in your brain, and you're actually changing your biology too, like the emotions you become addicted to. And there becomes a quickening, and you start to improve on it as long as you keep going in that direction of curiosity and growth.
For sure.
Now, one thing I'll touch on that you mentioned too, I know, Ron, you talked about the idea around, you quickly learned that family is not necessarily, or family, friends are not going to be essentially your ideal client, right? And really you kind of have to go out and actually find your ideal client, because the thing is, right, and there's a whole science behind that too, right? Which on the first virtual summit, we're going to talk about business growth and the levels of it, and for you to be able to identify where you are in that level of business growth, right? So when you first launch a business, typically the first line of defense is what I call them, or people who are going to jump in and support you, or will be your friends and family, right? They're going to be the ones that are going to, they're going to buy your products or service or try you out. But then after that, once you exhaust that, what do you have left, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs, that's why 99% of businesses fail over like 5 years, because they're not focusing on where their actual clients live, and actually being able to create content messaging that resonates with them so that they can position themselves for success. Now, when I look at, friends and family in that starting phase, part of it is you would hope that they would be the most honest with you about, you know what, I don't like this. You can take criticism from family members, right? But then once you start getting criticism from outsiders that have no idea who you are, how much time you put into the line of work that you've done, it hits differently, right? So that first line of defense is kind of a safety blanket too, right? Because you're gaining, if you understand how to gain the information, the knowledge from that first line of defense, then it allows you to create something that's even better, right? For your future market, your actual real audience that you're going after, and understand some of the pain points, understand why people are making a decision, understand the benefits and the features of the services or products that you're creating. So then that way it just becomes a lot more natural for you to be able to position yourself really as that leader in that space. But a lot of people get stuck in that, okay, well, I got all this business in my first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden they're wondering what happened. How come I'm not getting any more business, right? Why is nobody buying my products anymore? That's when people start getting to that fear mindset of, oh my gosh, like, am I not doing something right? Should I be charging less? And then they start, they're not even breaking even anymore because they're discounting their products way below how much it's actually worth, just to try to get rid of it. But meanwhile, it's not even the people, it's not even the problem is not the product, it's how you're positioning it for people to understand the value behind the product that you have, right? And the moment you believe in the value and you're able to articulate that to the right audience and the right people, then it's actually a lot easier. And then one last thing I'll put out there is that a lot of times people don't realize that the products that they're selling or the service that they're selling is actually the audience that they're really going after is themselves. Most people create a business because they want to solve a problem or because they actually want to solve, like they came across something before and they're like, I don't like how this was done. So I actually want to create something that's better. Or they felt like they worked so hard at a job somewhere, they built all this knowledge and feel like that, and they feel like, oh my gosh, like my manager's terrible, right? I can do the manager's job way better. And actually, you know what? I want to go into consulting for myself and actually do this for other companies because I've already gained all the knowledge and skill sets, right? And now they're trying to position themselves in the market to sell something that was a problem to them. And if you can understand why you created a product or service and the purpose or your reasoning behind it, it's 10 times easier to sell it.
Well, yeah, it's also, I think it's part of your hero's journey, right? And now you have a passion about it. And when you're relaying that, like that's a personal experience and people will feel that and you're going to have passion about it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, as you were talking about like the friends and family, I think there's also a component when it's friends and family, they know you personally. Like I break it down, business, there's two different types. You have two different types. You have a business relationship and a personal relationship. And when you go to the people in your family, well, those people know you. Yeah, I like you. Let me help you out. I like you. And they're going to be really, they're going to like, yeah, it's fine. Or, maybe not, but they'll be nice about it in the rejection, but they're also they're there to help you. They know you personally. And then you go out into the business world and you don't have that people, like you don't have friendships, right? And it's strictly business. I'm like, well, I've never done business with you. I don't know. Like, so we know people like, oh, I've done business with this person. They're reliable. They do a good job. They have a great product. And then you have, I know this person personally. They're a really good person. Like they're trustworthy. I like them. But those are two different relationships. And so when you're working your sphere, that's mostly friendship and family wanting to help out and take care of you. And if they're going to reject you, they're going to do it nicely, right? And then you go out in the world and it's like, you're trying to work as a friend and it's a business transaction. And they're like, no, I don't know you. I don't know you personally. So I don't have that to lean on. This is a business transaction. I've never done any business with you. I don't know if it's done any business with you. So to me, the intersection starts to be both of those. Like you mentioned it, Ryan, I believe, like, you start to like develop these relationships, right? And that intersection of friends and business. And that really starts to explode when you start to build a network of people essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of actually I'll say exactly what I did. So whenever I wanted to start being bigger on social media, I wanted to kind of start creating that network because going in person, I'm an introvert. So going in person was a little bit tougher in the beginning. It was just I didn't want to do it. So I turned to social media to kind of get my feet wet, get an idea of who I should be connecting with, who I should be targeting and understanding. Because when I first started transitioning my Facebook to business, I had something like, I don't know, 1,200 or 1,600 friends, but only like maybe 1% were business owners. So, and obviously I don't talk to 1,600 people. So I removed probably 90% of them. And then I went on like other Facebook groups and trying to really connect with people and just read through forums and how people were answering questions is what I was really paying attention to, or how people were asking questions is what I was paying attention to, because I wanted deeper thinkers, people who People who ask better questions are usually a little bit more interesting people to me. So I started adding those people on Facebook, and then I started filling up uh, I guess my friends list, my network full of those kind of people, and those are also my clients. Because my clients are small business owners, entrepreneurs. That's really my target market. And I know it doesn't sound super niche, but generally speaking, that's my target market. So, and even just rubbing shoulders, partnering with them, helping them network and build their own business has been super fulfilling. But creating that original atmosphere and that environment where I can go and meet people and talk to people and meet people from just social media or from networking, building partnerships, because I'm not your client, you're not my client. We're here because of a partnership that we've created in the last month. And that's the kind of impact that you can really have on people whenever you're networking, whenever you're just talking to them on social media. You don't always have to have your hand out whenever you're really struggling. You don't need to have your hand out, because sometimes helping people will help you. Um, kind of um, there's something that I learned very early on, and it was kindness cures sadness. And whenever you're kind to people, you don't feel as sad.
Yeah.
One of my best friends passed away growing up, and he was always happy, but he was always kind. And I kind of figured that out after he passed away, analyzing everything, what I did wrong, or, survivor's guilt and all that stuff. But kindness cures sadness, and being able to help people whenever you're struggling, I think that's honestly a superpower. I think where you can create some of the best ideas whenever you're desperate. And I know it might shut down some critical thinking, and not everyone functions the same. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I perform well under stress, and sometimes it really brings out a lot of great ideas. And sharing that experience and being open and transparent with my network, with people I meet, with the partnerships that I create, and just the people that might listen to me, or just a random person that might be on the other side of the world. It's always cool to see the effects that you can have on other people. Whether
Yeah.
there's money exchange or not doesn't necessarily matter, but it's the lasting effects. It's like teaching a fisherman to fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' first mentor, had a great quote around that. He said, "Help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want." And you can't do it with the idea you're going to get what you want. You just need to help people.
Yeah.
With the energy of I want to help, not with the I'm doing this because I want something else.
Right.
Right? Because that is a hustle mindset.
Yep.
Right. I'm going to do this to try and manipulate you because there's an undertone there. Right. And energetically, people will feel that. So go into it. I really want to help you. Right. That was what Jim Rohn was speaking to. Help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want. But it has to be with the right energy and intention.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree 100%. And part of that is, like you mentioned, Ben, it's intention, right? That goes back to mindset, right? If you don't have that right intention, people will feel that, right? And I've been in, again, back to the networking events. I've been there, and I've seen and felt people who are just like, I don't know if I'm good. Like, I don't even want the business card. like just keep it moving. Nice to meet you, great. And that's the same thing. Like, even like when I have conversations, like during my initial consultation calls, right? I love to know more about people before I even get into the business side, right? Because so many people lead with the business, right? And that's not really, like, at the end of the day, yes, you're running a business, you gotta, generate some type of revenue or income to keep it afloat. But at the end of the day, if you can take business out of it first and realize that you're actually talking to somebody that probably has shared experiences or challenges that they might be going through, and just being able to really be humble in that way, and just have a little humility around the idea that, this is not just transactional, right?
Yeah.
This is actually very personal, right? And at the end of the day, like, I want to know what you're passionate about, right? I want to know what you feel like your purpose is. Like, and it's crazy, right? I tend to have conversations with people sometimes, like, I'll give you, well, I'm not even going to give the example, but I've had people literally cry on the call, like, because it goes beyond just the idea. And I'm not saying, like, hey, get on the call, you got to start crying. No, this is
Wendell, why'd you have to share that about me?
it's,
Totally
but
crushed.
I ask questions that people don't ask other people. Like I love to know what you're passionate about. What do you feel like your purpose is on this, like, on this earth at the end of the day, right? And some people don't know what it is, and they get really emotional about it because a lot of people are really trying to figure this out. Like, a lot of people want to know, like, what is my gift? Like, what can I do? And as entrepreneurs, sometimes we try to do so many different things because we're trying to figure out what is our real true calling, right? What are we trying to do, like, to fulfill a need? Back to what Ben is saying, right? And what is that need that we're trying to fulfill? And if we can get to understanding that, we're gonna have some we're gonna have a checklist that Ben was working on that we're gonna share with everybody. And anybody who joins the virtual session for number one, you'll be able to get access to it, right? Because this is gonna allow you to understand, like, where your beliefs are,
yeah,
and understand, like, how to make that transition, right? So again, like I said, there's so much behind it, man, and we can go on for days.
yeah, that's the thing. We can literally go on. Yeah, I mean, for me, I want to provide value, and I think the greatest gift we can give anybody is to be absolutely present with them. Right? That's a gift, and we're not present with people in most cases. We're on to the next thing, and we're like, being present that's how you build a relationship. Hold the space for them and be present with them, and they're going to sense that and feel that. And that's how you start to develop those relationships. Slow down a little bit, right? And I think that, to what Wendell was saying, we like the first, I mean, all of the summits are going to be packed, but I've created kind of a questionnaire for people to go through to help them start discovering what some of their limiting beliefs are. Like, and where are they showing up in their lives, and where are they creating these roadblocks that they're self-imposed, and they're blind spots. They don't even know they're blind spots. And it's cloaked in language. It's cloaked in language we tell ourselves.
Can you explain the blind spot?
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. I'll use a client that I helped, and so he had a business where it was thriving. He was really passionate about it. Wonderful process, and he started that business, and it took off. And it was B2B, right? So it was out there, and then it started to really started to slow down. And so I met him and we started working together, and I started asking him questions. I have a process. I have like a 10-week course, but part of that process is, getting into some of his beliefs. And I asked him about, like, we got the topic of his father. His father has a successful business. His father works really hard at that business, really driven, but every other area of his life is not working. Possibly second marriage fail. Right, his mother was divorced from him. His dad's health is not well. He was never present with the kids, right? Because he's like, I need to be a successful business, right? Well, he saw that as a kid growing up, right? And he's getting married, and he doesn't want that. But he's so passionate about this business and making an impact in businesses and having businesses be a great environment for everybody, the leadership. And he has a process to put people in places in the business that are absolute perfect fits for the company, right? But what was happening was he was seeing that success. And the blind spot for him was subconsciously, okay, this is becoming successful. That means all these other areas of my life are going to fall apart. So I asked him, I said, so what are your limiting beliefs about a successful business? In other words, what are the negatives of a successful business? What does that mean to you? He says, oh, well, it means it's going to be hard. I'm going to not be present with my kids, and my health is probably going to suffer. I'm not going to be able to keep a balance. I'm probably going to have stress in my relationship. And I'm like, okay, those are your beliefs, right? Now, is that what I call an absolute truth? Does everybody experience that? He's like, no. I said, okay, so that's something that you're using in language in your head, and I understand why, because you experienced as a kid, but that's just the decision your father made about how he was going to run his business because he didn't know any better. No one came in and said, no, you don't have to do it this way. You don't have to have an either or life. You can have a both and life. He thought it was either I can be financially successful and everything else will fall apart because I won't have time for that. And so then I asked him, what kind of limiting beliefs do you have about your product or service? And he started, it's not perfect. It's self-reporting. I said, okay, when did you start to develop those beliefs? And it was basically at the peak of his most success. So he was self-sabotaging his business because he had these unconscious beliefs that a successful business meant all these other areas of my life were going to fall apart. And I didn't want that. Right. And that was cloaked in language in his mind. And it was a decision he made as a kid, observing his father's business, seeing what happened all these other areas of life. I don't want that. And so he was unconsciously sabotaging his business.
I think people do that a lot more often than they notice, for sure.
Right. And this is the blind spot. We don't even know we're doing it. Like, why does Tiger Woods and Ray Dalio, you know who Ray Dalio is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's Warren Buffett's mentor.
So he runs the world's the world's largest hedge fund, right? Like both of them, guess what they have? Coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they have coaches? Because they need someone with outside perspective to help them with the blind spots that we all have.
Yep.
So anyway, so these are these blind spots, and it's something that we observed as a kid. And then, oftentimes, we developing coping strategies around these limiting beliefs we have about ourselves. Again, usually in the realm of I'm not enough. And my coping strategy is I'm a perfectionist. I'm going to make everything perfect because if it's perfect, people will love me. Or I'm going to be a performer. I need to perform really well because if I'm successful, then I'm worthy of love. Or I'm going to be a giver, pleaser, fixer to show I'm worth keeping around, which means I'm worthy of love. So those are all coping strategies for the deeper declaration we have about ourselves of I'm not enough.
So,
right.
No, I love that. And I'll actually throw an example in there. And I think I shared this with Ben, was that I had a lady reach out to me and she had asked about, like we had our whole consultation. I went over a little bit on the call just to make sure to, give her as much value, right? Because again, a lot of what I do is value. So I give a lot of like free information and knowledge because I really believe in small businesses, right? And being able to be a resource to them so that they get a different perspective, right? So we had the conversation. We went over the services. I told her about the pricing. She said, okay, it seems, a little bit more out of my budget, which is okay, but I'll figure it out and I'll come back to you. So obviously we had a follow-up call, talked through it with her. And then, I was like, okay, well, we could explore other options, right? As far as possibly a payment plan or some sort, right? And again, leveling with her, right, at that point, right, to see like how much do you really want this business? Because you're really telling me you're passionate about this, right? You really want to do something great for the community. You have this, you have the skill set, you have the knowledge, you have everything that literally is just basically getting in front of people now, right?
Right.
So then I call her, we have a conversation. She had more questions. So of course we go through, I give her some more information at this point. Again, still in charge for anything. So I was like, okay, well, if the next call we have, I can't give any more information at this point, right? We have to be able to make some level of decision from this point on. So we get on the call. I'm like, hey, you ready to make the decision? Like, where are you in this process? She's like, well, I don't feel like spending money on doing this right now because, I just don't know like where I'm going to take this or if I even want to really do this. I was like, okay. And I was like, well, how's your day going? Like, what have you been up to? She's just like, well, right now I'm actually out shopping. I'm buying stuff. So in my head, I'm like, hold on. You're telling me that the first two conversations, you were very passionate about this one thing that you're trying to do. And then all of a sudden, it's like 360. of I'm actually spending money that I could be investing in myself. And I'm not saying me, but for her, investing in herself to be able to get herself to that next level and actually break the cycle of I'm not good enough or I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
And
And
a
so
lot
what
of
that,
people find themselves in that situation. And for me, honestly, like my final point is that I always look at scenarios like that as an opportunity to try to show people like, hey, there's room for growth. But at the end of the day, do I get mad at it? No, because guess what? We're all human. Somebody tell how many people you probably met like, hey, I'm gonna do business with you tomorrow, and then they turn around, they disappear, they ghost you. You know, they're in a whole nother country. Like you just never see them again, right? It happens, and that's because we're human, right? People are naturally going to make decisions based off of, again, their mindset and where they see things.
yeah, and that's a fear-based situation of there's somewhere in there and I don't think I'm good enough or I'm not worthy enough. And so the purchasing of the goods is a way to distract themselves because they made the decision subconsciously, I'm not good enough. So now I want to go make myself feel better, and no judgment, like nothing but love and compassion about it. Because I get it. I understand it, right? So I'm going to go buy something and I'm going to get that dopamine rush of me buying something, right? And I believe behind most all addictions, whether it's drinking or shopping or pornography or whatever it is an addiction to a negative emotion we have about ourselves based upon a belief that is actually when you go to its core is a lie. It's a non-truth. And what we're doing is we're seeking relief in the shopping or the drinking or the pornography or whatever. We're seeking relief in those things for the negative addiction we have towards ourselves. So we're looking for a distraction. Mm-hmm. And I understand why people do that.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to going through and asking the questions like, well, really, am I not good enough? And when you go through it and you kind of coach through it, it's a lie based upon a misinterpretation as a child about a past event in your childhood. And now it's become this narrative that keeps replaying your entire life and it's driving all these decisions. And you keep, there's this, what's what I call a psycho-cybernetic loop. It just keeps reinforcing, oh, see, yeah, I wasn't very good at it. See? Mm-hmm. And that's the ego, which is trying to be correct.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a perfect example for someone who's a consumer, not a creator. It's in a very simple form. I know we're diving super deep into the mindset and everything, but at the highest level, bird's eye view, looking down on it, that person is a consumer and not a creator. And that doesn't mean that they'll always be only a consumer. Like there's a transition. It's not like a switch you just flip overnight. You can have realizations and just mind-blowing things that happen overnight, but it's still not going to just get you there. Yeah. There's a series of things that continues to happen over time.
And I would say, let's say that person is passionate about what they want to do, and that's what their soul wants. Mm-hmm. That's what they were put here for, right? But their ego, which is based in limitation and fear, is the part that needs to go away or needs to be integrated. Mm-hmm. Am I viewing this from a finite version of myself or an infinite version of myself? From my primal state, which is ego, to a powerful state, which is my soul.
Man.
Wow.
I think this first event's going to be great. I'm pretty excited for it. I'm going to be a student for sure. Is it just you two that are going to be on the first event?
Yes, it's just gonna be us two, and then towards the end we'll have Q&A so people can join in and awesome. Ask questions, and we can help them through whatever challenges that they might be facing during that moment, or if they need clarity on something, and we'll be there to do that, provide that.
For sure. Now I know that we're over an hour, and that's kind of what we planned for. But before we go, I did want to talk about the in-person event. I don't know if you're announcing the a lot of details just yet because I know it's going to be trickling out during your event, but your last event's supposed to be insane. I know we already talked about some things that you're working on for it. Is there any teasers that you can give the audience?
Yeah, so honestly, I would say it's gonna be jam packed. We're gonna have a lot of great things happening. So, like all I can say is that once we announce the tickets, which will be in the next possibly 2 months of actually releasing it, it might be sooner if you guys subscribe and get in hold of us and be the first to know. But we're gonna have literally we're gonna address so many different things and give you a roadmap, literally a roadmap that you'll know what you don't have, and there will be people in the room that can help you get to where you need to get to, right? In your business, whether it's life, personal. We're gonna have panelists. We're gonna have presentations from CPA that will talk about, how to actually run your business financially, right? Based off of your personal financial goals that you might have for either growing the business in your personal life, right? Because I've seen so many scenarios where, again, back to again the knowledge base of, hey, I need to get a business and write off everything, and then you write off everything, but you can't get a house because you wrote off too much, right? And then now you're stuck because you didn't plan for the financial aspect of the growth of your business, or being able to make sure that you had income at the end of the year to show that you can actually afford to buy a house, right? Stuff like that. To having a business attorney who also we secured last week, and he's going to be coming in. He's going to be talking about the different entities. So whether it's an LLC, S corp, C corp, the difference on a very high level as to when should you be looking at transitioning from either of those, to also trademarking and intellectual property, and making sure that you have your policies, terms and conditions, and all these other things that people do not think about when they're running a business to protect themselves, right? If you have a business and you're basically running it and you don't have it registered, guess what? If you ever had a lawsuit, they can come after your personal assets, right? If you have a business registered, then obviously the business is liable, right? So there's all these other like little things that people, they get into business, but they're not learning or getting the information. And we're just going to have really knowledgeable people at this summit that's going to be able to educate you on multiple things. Some things you may already know, but on a high level, it's going to be valuable information that either you can take away or that you might be able to take away and share with other people that probably don't know. And now you can be a blessing to somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. The people that think that they know everything and don't need to listen to certain things might have a little ego issue, right, Ben?
It's all right. It's again, I don't judge anybody. Judgment is such a useless energy for me, right? That's usually fear-based, which is, nothing but love and compassion for people. It's true.
Yeah, for sure.
I really think everybody's
honestly,
trying to do the best they can with the programming they've received. Everybody, I think most people mistake the most important inheritance. Most people think it's wealth. It's not. It's mindset. It's beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
That's an inheritance you got.
For sure.
So one thing I'll throw in there, this is my final comment, and
Okay.
I'll leave it because I feel like it's very powerful and it came to my mind again to share, is that there are a lot of people who are running businesses, and this is, I know it's a big statement, but running a business and saying that I don't have money to hire a marketing person, or I don't have money to hire a CPA, or I don't have money to actually, gain capital for whatever it is that you're trying to do in a business, right? Is a limited mindset, right? And the thing too that I try to educate people, which a lot of people fail to realize, is that money from the financial aspect of running a business is only probably one of the smallest pieces of running the business, right? And the reason why I put it on that level of it being small is because the most valuable thing in a business is actually human capital, right? There's so many things that you can do in your own business that does not require you to spend money. You can partner with people. You can do an exchange of service, right, with people, right? Um, so there's so many different things that are good that people just limit themselves
Right.
to say, well, I can't do this, right? I can't do social media because, and I don't have the money to hire somebody. But guess what? There's somebody that's wanting to dive into social media that's probably nearby, and they're willing to do it for free in exchange for whatever service you probably provide. And that can get you to the next level of learning and building and actually having, again, somebody that has that growth mindset of actually understanding that you have value, I have value. We're both on this level where finance is probably an issue. How do we exchange services, right?
Yeah.
In order to make something happen. And that's something that's, really important that, throughout this conference, I'm really going to try to address, because I've been to too many places. I've been to, startup weeks, and I've been to other places and met so many entrepreneurs, and it's just like, oh, capital this. I don't have money, or I need money. And that's the biggest challenge, right? I ask, literally, my number one question whenever I meet somebody is, what do you need help with? And a lot of times it's money, leads, or I actually need help with marketing.
Yeah.
There's two, maybe just two comments around that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Tony Robbins has a great saying. It's like, you don't lack, you don't, how does he say? He says, you don't lack resources, you lack resourcefulness.
Yep.
Your ability to change the way you look at things. Wayne Dyer has a great quote around this. He says, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change.
Yep.
Right. And we really get stuck and hung up on this idea that wealth is only related to money. And that's such a narrow component. And it's very fear-based and limiting.
Yep.
There's wealth and abundance everywhere. And it's not just in finances. And as soon as you understand that, like Wendell pointed out, exchange, services, whatever, find someone who, hey, I want to get into social media. That's how do you think all these people started? All these people didn't, all these successful entrepreneurs didn't start out with hundreds of millions of dollars. They were resourceful.
Yep.
And it's a shifting how you look at things. And don't get me started on the quantum physics of it, because you're going to broadcast information and you're going to create synchronicities and events and go, holy crap, you're just the person.
Yep.
Like, that's a whole nother level to get into, but that happens. I've seen it way too many times in my life, and it still happens. It's wonderful because it's all the inner work. Like, as soon as you become somebody different, your reality has to change. It's a physics problem. It's a quantum physics problem.
And that's the thing too, right? If you actually want to, as you're watching this, whoever chose to stay on live, if you want to come to the main event in person, obviously, yes, it does cost money for you to attend this, because we're going to have so much jam-packed value and people there. But we will have live examples of how this actually works, right? And how you can actually grow and be resourceful with the people that are in the room with you, right? Because a lot of times, I've been to networking events and it's all about, hey, I'm selling this and that. But trust me, for this particular event, we're going to want you to be very intentional, and we're going to drive home the intentionality behind the decisions and how you go about making a decision, and actually how do you actually understand the power of the people that are actually in the space that you're in. Because a lot of people don't know how to tap into that power, and they're just looking for sales, but really what they should be looking for is relationships.
Right.
What they should be looking for is, how do I become a resource to some of these people? So then that way they can see it and understand my value. And then eventually at some point in time, they'll probably need my services.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's how Lewis Howe, who has the School of Greatness podcast, and he's blown up. He was one of the original podcasters. He blew up. He was living on his sister's couch, barely making it. And then he had this idea, I just want to start connecting people. I want to become a connector. I want to help people. And that's where he started. And now he has one of the most successful podcasts on YouTube. I mean, he's now on Sirius XM. He's huge.
Yeah, for sure. I know we definitely got to cut it off. But before we cut it off, I did want to, Wendell, I want you to talk about the event. How can people join? hustletogrowth.com.
Yep. So if you type in hustletogrowth.com, hustletogrowth.com, you'll be able to see the list of all the events that are coming up. You can register an RSVP for each one that you feel is of interest to you. I would say register for all of them because they're all going to be great, in my opinion, and they're going to be all jam-packed with information that can really help you. Or if you don't feel like it's going to help you, but you do know that it's going to help somebody else, make sure to share it with them, right? At the end of the day, this is like, we're doing these free events for you, and we're not gaining anything out of this, right? Outside of just being able to be a resource, because again, like I said, back to my story, it's just, I consult so many different business owners and people on a regular that I see these challenges and I want to address them on a more bigger scale. And I feel like these events I'll be able to make sure that I'm helping build the connections and the people that are experts and the industry experts in this space, such as Ben, who's going to be on this first one. We have some other great ones as well that are going to be happening, and we're going to have some experts on those calls as well. So yeah, again, like these are the events that you want to be at, because they will help boost your mindset, but also your business, and allow you to build the skill sets that you need to thrive.
And the partnerships. Everyone in that room is learning the same exact thing. Everyone has a different perspective, and you can all just talk about exactly what you'll be building. I think it's definitely going to be great. Ben, I want you to plug yourself real quick. Emergent Minds.
Yes.
Talk about Emergent Minds real quick.
Yeah, so my website's emergent-mind.com, www. And my I primarily work with entrepreneurs and executives in helping them transform their mindset through a program that I call my Powerful Human Framework. And it's a 10-week program that I take them through and really teach them about what's going on in their neurology and their biology, and how you can become addicted to emotions, negative emotions, positive emotions, and then how that actually co-creates your reality, and how you can create these synchronous events in your life and create from a totally different level. From basically Newtonian physics, pushing atoms around, very like fear-based, right, stress, to a totally different level of quantum physics. And a lot of it's rooted in science. And I have it's a process I go through. It's a discovery process about your limiting beliefs, and then how that's creating your reality. And it's a 10-week program.
For sure. That's awesome. And it's the website. How can they get in contact with you? I know that you're working on social media expansion and everything.
Yeah. So the website's the original website's up. It's being rebuilt right now, but the old one's up. You can go there. You can search for me at Ben Bauer I think I'm linked to this event in my social media account. And then my email is ben@benlbauer.com.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Wendell, what's your contact email? Do you prefer email or social media?
Honestly,
what are you thinking?
I'm open to all, right? We do SMS. So if you want to text us, you can call us at 919-561-5599 or text that number. And then we can add you to our database and we can communicate with you through there. Or you can contact me through my personal website, which would be wendelljeanjules.com, or my company website, which would be wjjbrands.com. And from that side, either or, you can basically get in touch with me, or you can find me on social media. I'm all about branding. So literally, if you type my name in and type Wendell Jean Jules on any platform, you'll find me. Same thing with WJJ Brands. We own pretty much the end of every URL. So it shouldn't be hard to find us.
That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely excited about the first event to watch that. It's May 22nd. So it's coming up very, very soon. So it's not like this is in a couple months. This is starting next week, and then it's going to progress over the coming months. So it's going to be cool to watch and see it grow. And then we're also planning on having you between the third and fourth summit event. So we'll have a little recap, go through a couple more things there. I'm excited to recap then, but I'm pretty excited for the first event. You're definitely spot on about being the most excited about the first event because you could see everything, kind of see the momentum, meet everyone, and really get that machine going for everyone. But I'm definitely excited. It's great. It's been great having you guys on here, and we'll definitely have you guys back on in the future.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you so much
guys.
for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
All right. See you
You
later.
as well.